welcome back to my channel. Today the topic is
international shopping.
I just came back from Canada. I was actually in Toronto with my husband, had a ton of fun, and of course I have a fabulous luxury shopping vlog coming for you. I filmed a Chanel, Louis, Dior. So since I am in the topic of Canada, I get a lot of questions regarding international shopping. You guys ask me all the time, which countries are cheaper to buy stuff? Is it cheaper to buy in this country, that country? I actually have a video that I'm gonna link in the description box where I do a study amongst a bunch of countries. But today I'm gonna talk about Canada. So if you are interested in understanding if it's better for us Americans to shop in Canada, make sure you keep watching because I'm gonna give you the scoop. And if you love fashion, shopping, travel, all kinds of tips, trends related to fashion, make sure you subscribe. And my loyal subs, thank you so much for being here. You know I'm all about the tips, baby. So we know that the Canadian dollar is pretty weak right now, which is why a lot of people ask me, Erica, the dollar in Canada is kind of weak, so it's probably a better deal to shop in Canada, right? So the Canadian dollar, $1 in Canada is actually worth 75-76 cents for us, which means it's about 25% lower, right, than in the US. So at first glance you would think, oh my gosh, so much cheaper to shop in Canada. I'm gonna go take a trip to Toronto or Montreal, do a little vacationing and do a little bit shopping and save some money. Well,
hold up, not so fast, boo-boo.
So the first thing you need to take into consideration is they bump up the prices in Canada. So what I mean by that is, let's pretend a Never Full costs $1,000 here in the US, okay? It is not like you're gonna go to Canada and that Never Full is gonna cost 1,000 Canadian dollars, right? Because if it was the exact same number in both countries, when you do the exchange, that 1,000 Canadian dollar Never Full would end up costing 750 bucks for us, right? Because it's the exchange rate. Well, something that costs $1,000 here does not cost 1,000 Canadian dollars. They jack it up over there already to kind of take into account this exchange rate. So because they jack it up, it's already kind of almost the same price as the US. And then the other thing I want you to take into consideration is the sales taxes in Canada are high as hell. So sales taxes in the US are an average of about 7%. Some places are higher, like New York City, for example, and some places are lower. But in general, we pay about 7%. In Canada, the sales taxes are like 13%. Some places, 15%. If you go shop in Toronto, you're gonna pay about 13% in sales taxes. If you go shop in Montreal, for example, you're gonna pay almost 15% in sales taxes. So think about that. You're already going there and the prices there are already kind of jacked up. And then you go ahead and you add the sales tax on top of that. Is it really worth it? So I wanted to show you right here this table that shows you the sales taxes for each province in Canada, right? A province is kind of like a state here for us in the US. Here you can see what the province is and what the tax rate is. So for example, if you go to Alberta, hey, no big deal. The sales tax in Alberta is 5%. So that's awesome. That's actually cheaper than sales taxes in the US. But let's talk about a couple of very well-known towns in Canada that I know have luxury shopping. Number one is Toronto, which is the one that I go to all the time. Toronto is in the province of Ontario. So you can tell there the sales tax is 13% in Toronto. If you go to Montreal, which is another very well-known city in Canada that has luxury shopping, that is in the province of Quebec. Well, the sales tax there are 14.975. So pretty much 15% in sales taxes. That is huge, guys. Like, that is huge. So don't fool yourself that you see a price and you're like, oh, this is a good deal. Well, hold up. When you get to the cash register, you're gonna be paying another 15% on top of that price if you are in Montreal, for example. So my Canadian friends, I am sorry that I'm not gonna talk about all the other cities that you have in your beautiful country. Way too many to talk about. The video would be super long, so that's why I'm mentioning only Toronto and Montreal, which are the ones that most people go to. But as you can tell, the sales taxes are insane. So what did I do? I actually have a little paper here because I did a comparison for you, because not all brands are equal, okay, in Canada. Some are better than others in terms of the pricing. So I did a comparison so you can have an idea. I did a comparison for Louis, Gucci, Chanel, and Hermes. So for Louis Vuitton, I picked a Speedy 30 and I looked at the Speedy 30 price here in the US, at the price in Canada. Then I added our taxes in the US, I added all the taxes in Canada, and then got a final difference. So just to give you an idea, a Speedy 30 right here costs $1,020, okay, if you go on the website. In Canada, before taxes, a Speedy 30 is going to cost you $1,370 Canadian dollars. So right there you can see the price jump, right? 1,020 here does not mean it's 1,020 there. After I added taxes in the US, the price ended up being 1,091 with 7% taxes. If I shop in Montreal, which is higher taxes, I'm gonna pay $100 more. I will be paying in Montreal for this Speedy 30. Totally not worth it, guys. So LV in general kind of costs you more right now. So keep in mind, prices fluctuate, the exchange rates fluctuate. So obviously a year from now, things might be different. But right now, in September, October 2019, LV not worth it in Canada. Now let's talk about Gucci. I looked at the Gucci Sylvie bag, the small version. So that one here in the US costs $27.90 before tax. And in Canada, it costs $34.05 before taxes, right? Quite higher. If I add taxes in Canada, if I'm shopping in Toronto, the Gucci Sylvie would be cheaper than in the US, okay? So is it really worth it? I mean, it is slightly cheaper, but also think that when you travel internationally, you got to deal with customs. You might choose not to declare, which is kind of against the law, right? Technically, you're supposed to declare, which adds another 10% on top of the amount. So if you're gonna pay for your import duties on top of these prices, definitely not worth it, because then it's definitely going to be more expensive than in the US. Let's look at Chanel. So I looked at a classic Chanel flat bag in large size. In the US, that bag is $6,200. In Canada, 7,600 Canadian dollars is the price. When I calculate the price of this bag converted to US dollars, okay, already with the Canadian taxes in Toronto, this bag in Toronto is cheaper than you would pay in the US without declaring in customs. If you declare in customs, it's gonna be more expensive. And then the last one, a lot of people think that Hermes is worth it there, and it was worth it there when I did my video about, I think I did a video about a year ago on this. But look at the situation right here. So I looked at the price of a Kelly wallet, and in the US it's $33.75. In Canada, it's 4,400 Canadian dollars. If I calculate the US price with taxes, it's more expensive for a Kelly wallet in Toronto. In Montreal, the price jumps up about $200 more, and not even taking into account the customs. So without looking at customs whatsoever, guys, Louis Vuitton is more expensive, Hermes is more expensive, Gucci a little bit cheaper, $50, $80 cheaper, and then Chanel is the one with the biggest difference. That's gonna give you about $150 depending on where you buy cheaper. So in the grand scheme of things, guys, not worth it. It is more expensive, not by all that much. So that's the disclaimer that I'm gonna add to this video. If you go to Canada and you happen to score a Birkin or a Kelly, take it. I mean, if it is something you really want and you're trying to score a Birkin or a Kelly forever, or you got a beautiful color that you don't have, take it because it is expensive, but a little more expensive, not a lot, okay? So for a bag that is that difficult to get, then absolutely it's worth you paying a little bit more to get the bag of your dreams, right? I think in that case, absolutely go for it. If it is a regular Hermes item, not worth it. Or any of these other items, guys, I think it's much better to buy in the US. Work on your relationship with your SA. Right now, I am very, very picky about what I buy abroad because I do want to cultivate my relationship with my SA. So for Hermes, the only way I will buy Hermes outside of the US is if it's a Birkin or Kelly that are scored somewhere by a miracle, or maybe Paris, right, a miracle, and I scored a Birkin or a Kelly. But anything else that is not that big of a difference, I would rather buy it in the US and build my relationship with my SA. And same thing with the other brands. I mean, Louis Vuitton, I'd rather be invited to the events here and really buy things all the time from my SA. So I think that is something you also need to take into consideration, is that maybe it is 50 bucks cheaper, but is it worth you dealing with the custom situation? And then wouldn't you rather invest in your relationship with your SA here so you can get exclusive pieces, the hard bags to get, right? Before they even get to stores, they're gonna contact you first. I mean, all of the perks that come with you working directly with an SA. So guys, all in all, I say not worth buying in Canada unless you're getting a Birkin or a Kelly, or you manage to find something really different that is sold out here in the US, or a piece that is not available. A lot of times there are pieces that are available in one country and not in another, and in those cases, yeah, go ahead and get it because it's a little more expensive. It's okay to buy, but only if it's a unique item or if it's a dream bag for Hermes. Other than that, guys, Canada is definitely no-go. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope these tips were useful for you. If you are traveling abroad and you are wondering where is the best place for you to spend your hard-earned bucks, right? So let me know if you like this style video and I can continue to make comparisons for specific countries. Let me know if there is a specific country you would like me to make a similar comparison than I did today with Canada. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. I love you guys so much. Bye.